Tudor have always been considered to be an inexpensive alternative to Rolex, and then it is also considered to be a stepping stone before you eventually buy Rolex. But with Pelagos, you may be getting some design features that no Rolex will offer to you at any price. If you have only come across Tudor recently, the first diving watch by Tudor was released in 1954, only a year after Rolex Submariner was unveiled. The original Tudor diving watch was inspired by Rolex Submariner, and it was even named Tudor Oyster Prince Submariner. And yes, it did offer a cheaper Rolex alternative to market, with Tudor using the same hour markers, dial hands as Rolex, and even the crown with Rolex logo embossed on it. But Tudor then started evolving into a brand with the watches of their own identity and looks. And then, if the looks of this Tudor Pelagos seem new and un-iconic to you, the square-shaped hour markers and the snowflake hands in Pelagos actually take the inspiration from Tudor Submariner from 1970. And on top of that, while there are light and dark blues in the market on the watches, the brilliant blue you see on Pelagos is arguably also taking the inspiration from the same Tudor Submariner from 1970s. With Pelagos, what you're looking at is the highest spec diving watch from Tudor, offering 500 meters of water resistance, watch case of 42mm, and then the case and bracelet material of titanium. The metal titanium helps the watch with the weight, and despite being a chunkier watch than Rolex Submariner in terms of both case size and thickness, it actually weighs less than the Sub, and we have 155 grams weight on Pelagos, with bracelet having all links on, as compared to 165 grams on Sub with bracelet having full links on. And then with Pelagos, you're not just getting a diving watch, you're getting a tool watch with every aspect of its design from finish to form, made to function. Where you typically see polished dial hands and hour markers on other diving watch like Tudor Black Bay or Rolex Submariner, you have practically no reflecting surface in the dial on this watch. The dial elements then also further don't have a smooth surface. Rather, the surfaces here are matte textured. The casing rehaut, the dial hands, the hour markers and the dial itself all come with matte texture to complement the overall non-shiny and tool nature of the watch. Another interesting character is the ceramic bezel on Pelagos, which means you have on offer the material for bezel that will virtually not ding or dent, and will also not fade its color over time. But the material being ceramic also means it will shatter if you drop it. So you have a bezel with Pelagos that is more tolerant to day-to-day beating, but will not take an accidental drop. Maintaining the no blingy tone of the watch, the bezel again comes with matte finish. Many call this brilliant blue dial as Tudor Smurf 2, and putting this watch side by side with Rolex Submariner, I don't necessarily disagree with that. The shade of blue for both the dial and the bezel, although not exactly the same, is very similar, and both dials being matte finish also offer a very similar vibe. So while controversial, I actually support the nickname Tudor Smurf. The design overall works, but I do think that Tudor have offered unnecessary design complexity with the rehaut having cutout sections for hour markers. And this is not the first time I'm seeing that hour markers are not evenly spaced inside the cutout sections in the rehaut. For reference, you can check the spacing on both sides of 11 or 4 o'clock hour marker, and they are not centered. The crystal does not have air coating on the outer side, so expect to see reflections from objects around you while wearing this watch, which is one aspect that I think Tudor could have bettered, because the reflecting crystal not only contradicts with the tool and non-shiny nature of the watch, but the reflections also take away some joy of the dial by adding a layer of distraction between your eyes and the dial. The crystal, however, has a flat surface, so it does not reflect objects around as much as domed crystals on the Black Bay models. True to its tool watch characters, the case comes all brushed, and this is actually very interesting design, where Tudor have gone into the attention to detail to even offer beveled edges at the lugs and case sides, yet the watch maintains its tool characters and the bevel edges again showcase brushed treatment. The case sides are again fully brushed and the crown guards offer multiple facets, yet all in the brushed finish. The crown comes with Tudor shield embossed on it. The case material is titanium, which I was expecting to be resistant to environmental attack. But in this particular piece in the video, I have a circular smudge mark on the case side, which is extremely concerning and disappointing. I've tried every possible way to clean this mark off, but it simply won't go away. And it is very noticeable, like a stain on the case. It is so evident that if you go back to my watch case shot, you can easily see it on the lug and also on its reflection. To offer 500 meters of water resistance, the watch comes with screwed in crown, and pulling the crown one step back will allow you to quick set the date while allowing the movement to run. Pulling the crown one more step back will hack the seconds hand, and I welcome this feature as it allows accurately setting the time. Another impressive offering with Pelagos is that the date changes instantly at midnight, and there will not be a time at night when you will see the date wheel misaligned in the date window. This is all achieved using Tudor's in-house movement, caliber MT5612, that is not only COSC certified movement but also offers a massive 3-day power reserve and is equipped with free-sprung adjustable mass balance wheel, a feature that is only offered in higher-end movements including Rolex. The movement is further equipped with non-magnetic silicone hairspring, meaning your watch timekeeping will not be affected by magnetism. Putting the watch in the dark, the Lume on Pelagos steals the show, and it is breathtakingly beautiful. And if you didn't notice already, you have something here that no Rolex will offer. The bezel is fully lumed. Where you typically only get lume pip, here you have not just the bezel numerals fully lumed, but even the graduations. And not just it far more functional, it's simply beautiful. I left the watch in the dark for another 10 minutes, and I'm impressed with lume consistency. And you can see the loss of brightness is consistent between the dial and the bezel. Under the macro, the hour hand comes with a rough surface, which in this case isn't necessarily a bad thing, because this I believe is meant to be so. Accordingly, you can see the paint transition is rough too, because quite possibly you can't really do a fine paint transition on a rough surface. Similar is the case with minute hand, which features a rougher surface, and it does complement with the finish on hour hand. The seconds hand comes with consistent finish, and I do like the character the hands have. At the joint, we have similar surface roughness and again the same paint transition, and given that it was never meant to be a smooth surface, it looks fine overall. The dial comes with the same matte and rougher surface finish that aligns with the hands, and the text on the dial isn't the most crisp one I've seen. But again, you can't really print a text with crisp corners on a surface that itself is rough. The hour markers come with the same rougher and matte texture like the hands and the dial, and I like the overall snowy vibe they give, especially with the white lume filled in them. On the wrist, the 42mm Pelagos wears relatively larger due to its taller 50mm lug-to-lug height. The matte finish dial with the brushed case and the bracelet means that there's practically no blinky characters that the watch will offer to you on the wrist. And then the color tone of titanium is also slightly darker than the steel to complement the overall tool watch looks. The case comes with white 22mm bracelet that, although complements the overall watch size and the profile, yet means you have a relatively chunkier and wide watch on the wrist. This is further complemented by its 14.3mm thickness on the case. My wrist size is 6.25 inches and the wristband is 55mm, and I personally find it to be easily wearable for me. The lugs taper down and follow the wrist contour, making it easy for the watch to hug the wrist despite its larger size. The clasp system is another highlight of Pelagos, and it offers self and automatic adjustment of the length with the wrist expansion or contraction. The secret behind the mechanism is intelligently engineered spring mechanism that allows the bracelet to be lengthened or shortened automatically based on your wrist stretch, and it does add a lot of convenience to the watch. If you don't require the spring mechanism to self-adjust and rather prefer a fixed length bracelet, you can easily adjust the bracelet to fixed setting and self or spring adjustment will accordingly deactivate. Amazing feature and convenience that's not available even in Rolex. If you are looking for a modern diver watch that offers you all the tool watch characters, 500 meters of water resistance, and then fully lumed dial and the bezel that is also offered in ceramic material to offer tolerance to day-to-day beating, and then in the flesh of titanium to offer lighter weight yet in relatively bigger 42mm size, and then a watch with history and looks from iconic Tudor Submariner from the past. Tudor Pelagos Blue dial is the one for you. It further offers hacking seconds hand and instant date change at midnight that are features not offered by even some of the top tier brands including Vacheron and Patek. My only disappointments are the misaligned dial rehaut and then the environmental attack on the titanium case, which is truly concerning. I mean, if this watch was made of some wooden material, it could be justified to see some stain marks on the lugs.